you thinking about RV living? Well, in this video, I'm going to talk about why we even got into RV living, the pros and cons of RV living, and at the end, I will let you know if I think we'd ever do it again. Now, you might be like, why listen to her? How long have you RV lived? All the background story. I do want to do a longer content video on basically our whole transition from going into an RV, during an RV, and out of an RV, but that will be for another video. If I have it up, I will link it to the end of this video, so watch to the end. But we did RV living for almost 4 years, living in multiple RVs with 3 toddlers. My name is Cece Sands. I am a Gen Z mommy to 3 toddlers, and I'm a military wife. I post content around our lifestyle and finances as a young parent. If you go back in my channel, you can actually see when we did live in the RV, because I would do daily vlog shorts of us living in an RV with 3 children. Okay, let's get into why we even did RV living in the first place. When my husband joined the military, he got sent out to multiple schools in the first year. And now these schools were all around the country, and I had no idea how I was going to raise our daughter with him, because we did have an 8-month-old daughter at the time. That's when I came up with the idea of RV living so that we could raise our daughter together. I packed up everything and left from Idaho to Texas, and I did that drive in literally like 3 days max with an 8-month-old. I still don't know how I did it to this day. So when we got to Texas, we just immediately started looking for RVs, and with the help of his parents, we found one. I will be doing a story time about all of that nitty-gritty stuff, but let's get into the pros and cons. Pro number 1 is freedom and mobility. It was the ease of moving place to place that made us fall in love with RV living in the first place. When you're constantly having to move, packing up everything in an RV was so much easier than trying to box everything and unbox it when you got to your destination. Also, the ease that it gave us traveling with children, because we had diaper changes, somebody peed through their clothes, and like just anything, and it was all back in the RV. We could easily open it up and get inside and do what we needed to do. That's probably a huge one as a mother. It was just so much easier. The second pro is low cost of living. Potentially. There is a way to mess it up, but you have no mortgage, no rent in the traditional sense. Your utilities should be cheaper, especially if you are doing something like boondocking. Boondocking is when you are camping with no hookups. Pro number 3 is minimalism and simplicity. RV living forces you to focus on the essentials and kind of just clean out all of your clutter. There's also obviously less space that you're gonna have to clean up. And another big one, if you're family, you can keep an eye on your children or even your animals way easier because there's nowhere for them to hide. Pro number 5 is nature access and resort style living. Depending on your campsite, whether you're in the woods or you're at an RV resort, you'll have access to awesome outside activities and just activities in general. Some of that access we had at RV resorts was like community pools, or we had boating, or there was concerts that went on the weekends. It was just so much activity with the community. And speaking of RV communities, they are pretty tight knit and they love to take care of each other. Some of the best people we have met in the last 4 years have came from RV communities, and we still are in contact with them to this day. Okay, that's enough of the pros. Let's get into the cons. Con number 1, limited space. You obviously have very limited space, which also is a challenge if you have kids or animals, or even if you like to do hobbies. Also, your privacy is non-existent. As a mother, your privacy is basically non-existent anyways. But when you're living in a small contained area, there's no getting away from it. You're gonna constantly have somebody under your feet going into the bathroom with you, just no matter what. There's no privacy. Con number 2 is maintenance and repairs. RVs require constant upkeep, whether it's the tires, the roof, the plumbing, the electricity. You're constantly having to make sure that nothing's leaking and everything's working properly. Breakdowns can leave you stranded, and the repairs for those can be very, very expensive. One of the things I highly suggest is figuring out how to do small repairs on your own. That is something that we did. If you are good at handiwork, I actually did a lot of handiwork in multiple of the RVs that we lived in, and my husband also did some as well. But sometimes he was off on deployment and I had to figure things out on my own, like why the plumbing's not working or the AC turned off. So You kind of have to learn how to fix it yourself so you're not costing a fortune getting somebody out to your campsite, because you can't just up and move it easily. If you did, you'd have to pack everything up and figure out where you're gonna stay for a little while somebody repairs it. So it's easiest to call somebody out to your campsite, but also that's more expensive. Con number 3 is how much weather factors into RV living. I come from a place in Idaho where we get like 8 feet of snow during the winter, so I couldn't imagine RV living there, and that's kind of one of the reasons why we stopped doing RV living, is because we are going back home. Even though the winters here are not that bad, we still had frozen pipes and had to get a heated hose to unfreeze them and keep our water flowing throughout the winter. And then during the summers, your AC is overworking and it can shut off sometimes because it's getting overworked and doesn't want to break, and then you are in the heat tin can of your RV during the middle of summer. So one of the biggest things I can suggest for that is try to cool your RV as much as possible during the night, so then in the daytime it's already at a low temp and it will only rise a certain amount, but sometimes it doesn't work out that way, and it is just really hard when the weather is fluctuating like that. Another thing we had massive trouble with was during winter we had mold growing in the back of our closets. I guess it's just the way the air was circulating, it just wasn't circulating back there, and moisture was growing from condensation, so we actually had to get dehumidifiers and things to soak up the moisture in the air. Also, another thing with storms is they are so much scarier in an RV. You can feel every wind gust, no matter how small it is, and you're just basically out in the storm is what it feels like, and it is loud. Con number 4, cost and logistics. RV parks can be super expensive, especially if you go to a resort during tourist season. The prices go way up. Now, this is something I don't think people think about much when they do the cost of RV living, but for you to rent a spot, and if you get it financed, your RV finance, on top of the insurance that you'll have to have, it can start adding up quickly, and it can almost cost the same as just getting into a rental or being on a mortgage. So you really have to think about what you are getting yourself into. Try to keep the prices low, and I highly suggest if you can buy an RV outright, just do that instead of getting into a financial situation. Also, RVs are like cars. They depreciate over time. They are a depreciating asset. So you need to keep that in mind when you buy an RV, especially a brand new one off the lot. It basically depreciates right then and there. Also, finding RV insurance is super hard when you're RV living. RV insurance, if you're not RV living, is easy, but if you are actually RV living, insurance companies just don't like that, and it is harder for you to find insurance. And another big add-on that we actually had to make our own separate category for when we were budgeting was the laundromat. If you don't have an RV hookup, laundry can cost a lot at a laundromat, and we almost were spending $100 a month because the resorts just felt like they could up the price for the laundromat, so it was like almost $3 per wash, and we have a family of 5, so that was a lot. Con number 5 is stability and addresses. RVs are way harder to have a permanent mailing address, especially if you're constantly moving around the country. What we did to help with this is if we were at one spot for a long time, we would get a PO box local, but if we were just constantly moving around, we just sent our mail to one of our parents' house. Stability wise, honestly, I just don't see it as a long-term living situation, I guess you would say. There's not much room to grow in RVs, especially if you're starting families. There are families who somehow do it with like 8 kids in the RV, and they are amazing. Like, if you can do that. Just for us, it just didn't seem long-term like we could do something like that. And then also, I mentioned it earlier, but we are moving to a cold winter place, and it's just not something that we want to deal with, is snow piling up on the roof and the pipes freezing and just constantly having to worry about it getting freezing cold in there. So that is why we are not doing RV living anymore. Just stability just isn't there for us. So yeah, RV living is a mixture of freedom and flat tires, sunsets, and sewage pipes. You need to be very careful how you choose to RV live, and you are going to have to be willing to change your lifestyle to fit around RV living. Now, the big question, would we ever do RV living again? highly doubt it. Honestly, I don't want to step foot in an RV again. There is a chance that when we are older and retired, we might do RV living again, but we would constantly have to be going on a new adventure because I am not good sitting idle. My channel is focused around lifestyle and finances as parents, so if that's something that interests you, follow along, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.